Adventures.
Hey guys, it's Chuke here from Chuke's Outdoor Adventures. Well, thankfully no one has died this week from a bear attack that I know of, at least, but I do want to thank everyone who is logging onto my website and sending me messages and keeping me informed what's going on in bear country. It's a lot of fun just keeping tabs of stuff and researching it. But I was sent an article by Tim Kilpatrick, and we'll get into that, but it brings up a point, and it's something that has always really annoyed me, and that is there are these just kind of fluffy, very emotional people on the left or wherever, and they are very against hunting, they're against firearms, but one point that they will make is they hate trophy hunters, and I love it when they bring this up around me, because I'm always like, well, trophy hunters are the best thing ever. And at first, they're completely outraged. And then I proceed to tell them, well, I'm a meat hunter. I eat the bears that I kill. But did you know that trophy hunters will pass up like 90% of the specimens that I would take to eat because they want to get the oldest, biggest animal that's already in complete pain because its molars are rubbed down to nubs. They're mean. They're the ones that are just attacking people and other animals. And the big bears, the big male bears, they're the ones that are eating cubs. And so these naturalists have this Disneyland perception that these bears are just lovable herbivores and they're just big teddy bears out in nature, just beautiful. We must protect them. And of course, we do need good conservation. But whenever you tell them the brutal nature of what is nature, that they're just killing cubs and eating them raw, they get this like scared, shocked look, and they don't want to believe it. And it actually happens a lot. I mean, it's been documented many, many times. So Tim sent me this article from the Cowboy State Daily, which is one of my favorite news organizations. They're ones that don't preach all this anti-firearm crap. Them and ammoland.com is where I like to get a lot of my information. But this story was titled, "Male Bear Kills, Cannibalizes Two of Grizzly 1063's Three Yearling Cubs in Grand Teton." So this is in the Grand Teton National Park greater area. And it's the story of wildlife photographer Jeff Plum. He was following this bear, and I get it. A lot of people that do the bear viewing, you just really fall in love with the animal. You kind of get to know them. You get to observe them, their daily struggles, watching this sow and her cubs. It's beautiful to be out in nature and just watch cubs. But, I mean, these people were just shocked and saddened when this big male bear, this boar, just comes in and just starts ripping apart her cubs. Now, it talks about this, that, the main reason, and I agree, that male bears will eat grizzly cubs, or, black bears will do it too sometimes. They do it so that the female will go back into estrus, will go back into heat, and they can mate with them again. They just want to keep mating, and so they don't want to wait a whole year or more for the sow to go back into heat, so they just kill some cubs, and then the sow will go back to heat, and they can mate again. So mean old ornery bears. And sometimes, though, they don't bring this up in this article, sometimes they will cannibalize each other just out of pure hunger. If there's not much food source around, bears will eat bears. They'll eat other adult bears, or they'll eat yearling cubs. Now, a lot of the time, this wasn't even that sad compared to some of the pictures. They have had pictures of polar bears with a little baby cub's head ripped off in its mouth. And that really shocks. There's only a few, like some of the National Geographic photographers will be that bold and brave to film that and take pictures of that. Most of them won't, because they don't want to completely shock their audience that has this false narrative of what nature is like, not the brutal honesty of death and life, life and death that nature actually is. But sometimes bears will just eat each other out of starvation. That's what we had in Unit 16B, where I was hunting years ago. And, that's where I got charged by a bear, and it was eating all my food, ripping up my tent. I killed a brown bear, and then I walked back to my tent, and I couldn't sleep for 24 hours because this black bear was harassing me and kept charging me. And thankfully I had the Ruger Alaskan 44 Magnum, because that would stave him off, but then he would just keep coming back. But that's why I always put a weapon light on my semi-auto. I don't have one on this one, but because under the tree line it was pitch black and I was just firing in the dark. But if I would have had a weapon light, I would have seen that bear and got it. So very important to have a weapon light when you're just out and about at night, in your chest holster on your bear defense pistol, in my opinion. So the carcasses of 2 yearling grizzly cubs were found Tuesday about 250 yards apart in a closed area of the park south of Coulter Bay, the National Park Service reported Wednesday. So depredation by a large bear, NPS reported, and it was just a sad thing. And this guy got to witness it. Now, yearling grizzly cubs are not small. Those aren't the little babies that typically you will see boars eat. I mean, a yearling cub that's a grizzly can get pretty big. I mean, they get over 100 pounds sometimes. They're way bigger than a dog typically, and there's a yearling cub can mess you up, and there's 3 of them. So, I mean, this happens, and, this guy was just devastated, and it talked about how it happens sometimes, but it actually happens more than people think. There was some question that the bears were being hazed, and that's what caused the behavior, but that is not what caused the behavior. This is what bears do. It happens all the time up here in Alaska. A male bear would just rip a cub apart, and in this case it was cannibalized and eaten, because sometimes the male bears will just kill them and just make sure they're dead and rip them apart, and then go off and hope the sow will go into estrus. But in this case, it fed on it because they also wanted food. Sometimes there's low, food in the area. So that is what happens in nature, and people like to candy coat that, but that's what happens. So when you're out in bear country, we're getting already into summer here. Pretty soon, in a few months, it's going to be hunting season. In the lower 48, we're going to get into the fall, elk hunters and all that. We had a lot of problems with grizzlies and brown bears up here last year, just attacking hunters. So I'm not against bear spray. Chuck carries a firearm and bear spray every time. A lot of times I will carry bear spray, but never without a firearm. You always want a firearm. This is probably one of the best pistols, revolvers you can carry in bear country, because it's a 454 Casull. It's more powerful than a 44 Magnum. I'll carry big 400 grain hard cast bullets, and it's just massive, but the recoil isn't bad because it's got a 5-inch barrel, a lot of steel. It's pretty hefty, and recoil is not bad in it. Devastating round. The problem is, at close range, I'd be lucky to get a couple shots off with this, so I usually go for a semi-auto. Sometimes I'll take that, but this, I like 10 millimeter. I always do the 10 millimeter videos. This is a 460 Roland FNX 45 build. The 460 Roland shop put their barrel, the muzzle brake, all the springs in it, and I'm getting the low end of 44 Magnum here in a semi-auto with 12+1 rounds. Just amazing, pretty devastating. I typically get 900 foot-pounds of energy, more than that. To me, this is probably the best pistol in my mind that you could carry in bear country. People will argue that the best pistol is the one you shoot the best, but for me, I can get more rounds on target with this, and they're really powerful rounds. So thanks for tuning in. I'll have a 10 millimeter video up in the morning. I appreciate everyone logging into my website, sending these messages. Please check out chukesoutdoor.com. Become a patron. I have links down below. Follow me on Instagram, and please, if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. It really helps. Okay, thanks guys. It's Chuke, your friend in the field.
My name is Chuke. I like to trade my guns just for fun, but now I have none. Oh, look, get shot by a bear, but I don't Chuke's Outdoor Adventures. Watch Chuke almost die every